Here is what's coming up in today's Frontline compilation. A battered pickup races down a muddy lane as civilian rescuers push toward an isolated farmhouse to reach an elderly woman before the next barrage lands. They reach her just in time, pulling her to safety as the shells begin to fall again. A lone teen 90 inches through shattered streets as Ukrainian artillery walks the rounds in. One shell slams onto the turret roof in a white flash, more brackets tighten by the second. Loitering drones shadow withdrawing Russian infantry, circling above tin-roofed bunkers until the operators pick the perfect doorway to dive. Columns of Russian IFVs surge across open wheat fields, smoke grenades trailing, unaware they are rolling straight into a preset kill zone already ranged by Ukrainian gunners. This is real footage, no effects, just raw moments from the battlefield. Subscribe to stay updated on every Frontline report and stick around to see it all unfold. Let's get into it. Russian armoured units make repeated attempts to breach Ukrainian lines, hulking BMPs and tanks burning in open ground. The footage stitches together the moment each vehicle is struck, spirals of smoke marking the failed pushes. As per the footage, at least 16 machines are knocked out, and none reach their objective. When the camera pans the position afterwards, wreckage and craters fill the landscape. The assault is over for now. For months, Russian commanders tried light raids on motorcycles and ATVs. Here they return to full-scale armor and pay the price. The video tracks a motley column, plates bolted on and camouflage nets hanging as it grinds toward Ukrainian 155th Brigade lines. Mines blossom under tracks, artillery walks in, and FPV drones dart down on stalled hulls. When crews bail out, the drones shift to the exposed infantry. One soldier fires hopelessly at the buzzing camera before smoke swallows him. The push collapses, leaving disabled vehicles and scattered troops behind. Ukrainian drone operators scan a Russian position and pick an unlikely target. Two soldiers hauling a Sani mortar in a battered wheelbarrow. The quadcopter angles in and drops its munition, shredding the improvised transport and flipping the mortar off its tray. The rescuers stumble away under the blast. The strike may seem minor, but without the wheelbarrow the heavy tube is stranded, and the clip ends on the ruined cart and motionless mortar. One more Russian weapon sidelined by a budget drone hit. A helmet-mounted camera from Ukrainian lines records two Russian soldiers caught in the open. With no cover in the surrounding field, they dive prone as incoming rounds whip past. The torrent intensifies. Tracer streaks punch the ground around them until both men lie still. The operator keeps the lens trained while dust from near misses drifts across the scene. No rescue attempts follow, and the footage cuts out on the silent figures. Moments pass in tense silence before the clip fades. Video released by Ukrainian sources shows a Russian mechanized assault near Pokrovsk. Armored vehicles push across open terrain when far from Ukraine's 72nd Mechanized Brigade strikes. Several machines are destroyed and others halt in place. Black smoke drifts over immobilized hulls as the attack stalls. The brigade claims responsibility for the defense, though the footage does not confirm whether it relates to another assault reportedly checked by the 155th Brigade. Inside a narrow trench line, a handheld camera watches Ukrainian soldiers huddle amid the thud of incoming rounds. A near miss slams beside the position and the wall of earth collapses, burying one fighter up to his shoulders. Comrades drop their rifles, clawing at packed soil with bare hands and entrenching tools until they free him. The soldier emerges dazed but breathing, dust covering his uniform. An M16A2 glints among the AK pattern rifles as the squad rearms and braces for the next strike, unsure when the barrage will land again.
Я намагаюся, я копаю. Чекай, дай розкопаю. Все нормально, живи, живи, живи. Можеш рухатись.
Придавила ще одну руку.
Пацани, розкапуйте зі свого боку.
Footage opens on a battered pickup weaving down a shell-scarred track while rounds crack overhead. A civilian rescue team sprints toward a farmhouse where an elderly woman waits alone. They lift her gently, shielding her with their bodies as outgoing fire answers the next incoming barrage. With no uniforms visible, the volunteers hustle back to the truck, debris whistling past. Mud splashes as they speed off towards safer lines. The camera lingers on the empty road, hinting that other isolated civilians still await extraction.
Ой-ой-ой, прильот. Поїхали, грати. Тут всі поля накрили.
A hovering Ukrainian drone observes two Russian soldiers behind a berm. One pulls the pin on a grenade and throws, but the explosive ricochets straight back, landing almost on top of his partner. Startled, the second man scrambles but cannot escape the blast. The video freezes on the plume of smoke that follows, leaving the pair's fate unstated. The error exposes how a single misstep can turn lethal in seconds, while the hovering drone records every moment, ready to capture what happens next. Overhead footage shows two Ukrainian soldiers approaching a prone Russian who hides a grenade beneath his chest. Realizing the trap, the Ukrainians back away and raise their rifles. After a tense pause, the Russian rises to his knees. A burst of fire drops him, and the grenade detonates beneath a falling body. Smoke billows as the Ukrainians keep their distance, unsure if another device lies nearby. The drone circles the smoldering spot before the clip cuts. Recorded in a wooded sector of Zaporizhzhia, the lens follows Brazilian volunteers of Ukraine's International Legion as they defend a narrow trench. Dense trees let Russian troops close to within meters. Muzzle flashes strobe between trunks and grenades arc overhead. The Brazilians return fire in quick bursts, commands shouted in Portuguese and Ukrainian as they shuffle along the earthwork. Dirt showers the fighters when a round lands short, yet they hold the line. Shadows gather at the tree line, hinting another rush could break at any second. Overhead video from the Ukrainian 79th Separate Tavrian Air Assault Brigade shows a drone hovering above a Russian trench section. One by one, modified grenades drop through the air and burst among the soldiers below. The camera records each blast, fragments, and dust, swallowing the narrow position. Several figures attempt to crawl under logs and sandbags, but the drone adjusts and releases another munition, repeating the pattern. Russian-released drone footage tracks three Ukrainian vehicles driving on a dirt road in the Kharkiv region. The first two, civilian-style SUVs, are targeted by hovering FPV drones. Explosions bloom on roofs and engines as each car veers to a halt. The camera then shifts to a third, unidentified vehicle parked beside the road. Another strike follows, sending debris into the tree line. Dust settles over the wrecks while the drone maintains its station, confirming the hits before the clip ends. A stationary T-90 tank sits exposed in ruined streets said to be Mariupol. Ukrainian indirect fire brackets the machine, and a shell lands square on the turret roof, erupting in a white flash. Seconds later, additional rounds impact near the hull, shaking the camera and covering the scene in smoke. When the dust clears, the tank is motionless, hatches closed, scorch marks spreading across the armor. The clip offers no further movement from the crew before fading out. Camera feeds from Ukraine's 54th Brigade capture a sprawling Russian assault that throws a mix of 6 tanks, 3 BMPs, 6 MTLBs, motorcycles, and assorted vehicles across open ground. Many machines carry improvised armor and camouflage, yet still bogged down under artillery and drone strikes. Smoke columns rise as the heavier vehicles are hit. Motorcycles weave fruitlessly before they too are stopped. Disorganized infantry scatter into brush, only to be pursued by overhead drones. GoPro footage, worn by Georgian volunteer medic Iraklia Kurtsikidze, documents the moments after a landmine blast near Zaporizhzhia. The camera pans across multiple wounded comrades, while Kurtsikidze directs triage, applying tourniquets and dragging casualties to cover. Shouts for morphine and bandages fill the air as secondary explosions echo in the distance. Blood stains his gloves, but he keeps moving between patients, issuing quick instructions to nearby fighters until they can evacuate. A helmet-mounted camera tracks a Ukrainian assault team advancing when two Russian soldiers unexpectedly sprint across the unit's designated fire lane. Neither appears armed, both are caught fully exposed. The camera holder swings his rifle and fires a short burst from the flank, dropping the first man instantly. The second stumbles, tries to veer, and is hit moments later. Dust from nearby impacts drifts over the bodies as the Ukrainians press forward, searching for more unseen threats. Drone footage from the Ukrainian Birds of Magyar unit centers on a demolished bridge spanning a river. Russian troops funnel onto the narrow crossing, only to find themselves trapped under precise aerial munitions. Some scramble behind broken concrete and twisted rebar. Others cling beneath the beams. But the hovering drones adjust angle and continue releases. The structure becomes a fatal choke point, explosions echoing off the water, while potential survivors remain pinned. One Ukrainian drone performs double duty in a single sequence. First, it drops small explosive bomblets onto Russian positions, plumes of dust marking each hit. Seconds later, the operator switches to observation, relaying coordinates as artillery shells begin to land with increasing accuracy. The footage highlights how inexpensive drones extend battlefield reach, shifting from direct strikes to real-time spotting without ever leaving the sky. A continuous 13-minute reel shows Russian Marines pushing toward Ukrainian lines under constant fire. Mortars burst ahead of the advance. RPGs streak from tree lines, artillery slams rear columns, and cluster munitions scatter submunitions across open ground. The camera never cuts, capturing the unit's momentum erode minute by minute. Smoke thickens. Wounded shout for help, and movement slows to a crawl. The lens lingers on craters still smoking, suggesting more strikes are inbound.
Все, протягивайся, не кучкуйся, баул протянулся. Осколочный у тебя.
Through the lens of a quadcopter operated by Ukraine's 110th Mechanized Brigade, a Russian fire team exchanges rifle fire with unseen enemies. They focus forward, unaware that the drone is hovering directly overhead. The operator releases grenades in rapid succession. Each falls almost vertically and detonates amid the group. Two soldiers collapse immediately, motionless among churned soil. A third crawls away, clearly wounded, before another blast shrouds him in smoke. Another drone records a grim scene involving a three-man Russian patrol. An FPV strike drops the center soldier, leaving him wounded on the track. He taps his helmet, signaling to the comrade who approaches. The standing soldier aims his rifle and fires a single shot to the wounded man's head, then shoulders his weapon and continues down the path with the remaining teammate. The executed soldier had been unarmed at the moment of impact, and the clip ends on the body left behind. 5 minutes of combat footage ends amid the rubble of an armored assault, with Ukrainian troops trading fire while taking cover behind a tank. Shots ring out in bursts as soldiers shift positions, ducking behind shattered walls and debris. Movement is sharp, coordinated, each man focused on the next angle, the next threat. A distant explosion sends dust sweeping across the frame, but no clear outcome follows. A series of snippets follows Ukrainian loitering munitions as they stalk Russian infantry returning to bunkers. Each drone shadows its target patiently, orbiting until soldiers step beneath open roofs or into doorways. At the chosen moment, the munition noses down. The feed blurs in static, and an explosion fills the final frame. The sequence repeats across different positions, emphasizing the tactic's strength, lingering overhead until place and timing promise maximum effect. Every strike is captured from the descending drone's viewpoint. A mixed compilation shows Ukrainian Special Operations troops operating near Kursk under a festive mascot. The first segment features artillery crews, one dressed as Santa Claus, loading and firing rounds toward distant positions. Observation drones relay fall of shot before helmet cam footage takes over, following operators as they close with entrenched Russian and North Korean personnel. Small arms bursts, tossed grenades, and pixelated impacts fill the chaotic advance. The clip concludes with the team securing the area while smoke from earlier shelling drifts across the scene. Soldiers from Ukraine's 3rd Assault Brigade gather before the lens, laying captured gear at their feet. Among the items, a trooper hoists a Mosin Nagant bolt-action rifle, a relic of another era, and flashes a quick grin before placing it with the rest of the haul. The clip then shifts. An injured soldier is seen crawling into view, pulling himself towards